Hi all, good afternoon. This is Kirt Cathey with 5 Hacking Tips. Today I'm going to cover some simple Samba hacking. It's quite basic in the sense that Samba has been hackable for years since the original version in a variety of ways. Everything from getting guest access and taking that access and basically rolling it over into elevating it to somebody with more access within the Samba file share. So what is Samba? It's basically a file sharing system that was primarily used with Windows to share files with Windows systems. So there's Samba servers that work on Linux as well, and they talk to Windows systems a lot better. And it's basically, as far as sharing services on the internet, it's basically a no-no, even with the most recent quote-unquote secured version. And that's what I'm going to dive into today. So there's an interesting box on Hack the Box, which is Nest, which, it's rated as an easy box. But that's only in the first steps when you are using SMB map. And that's another thing that I'm going to show you today is how to use a tool called SMB map from Kali to access Windows shares that may be exposed on the internet. So let's dive right in. By the way, please subscribe or like or comment. This presentation today is a suggestion from somebody that came in. I don't know if you noticed, but I didn't post anything last week, and that was because I kind of ran dry of comments and suggestions. So I encourage everybody to lay the comments on me, either through social media or, better yet, comment on the YouTube video. The other thing is all of the notes, and I don't know if other people have realized this, but all of the notes or the slides presentations that I present for the commands in these videos are put in the YouTube notes. And sometimes there were some mistakes the last time. Not mistakes in the content, but a mistake in the announcement where all of the content actually got posted to the announcement on either LinkedIn or Facebook or both or something like that. And I apologize for that. Try and keep that from happening again. But yeah, once again, thanks for all the support, and let's dive right in. So what I'm going to do right here is show you, this is Hack the Box. So I've already logged in and I've spun up an instance of Nest here, and this is the IP address. And getting into what the commands are. So basically, this is an intro to working with Samba on Kali. And of course, as I said, in network enumeration 2, and then the previous one, and I think even the previous videos have always had, we start out with nmap and we enumerate. And this is a grep and sed combination filter that I came up with. It's actually a really quick way, as far as an nmap scan is concerned. It's a really quick way to just get the ports that are there if you already know that it's a Windows machine, and to see what ports are open. And if you see the golden 445, which is usually what Samba runs on, if you see that, then ta-da, you know exactly which tool to go to first. So I'm going to show you right here with the command line. If we go, I'm not going to run the nmap, by the way, because I've already ran the nmap, and I know that there's port 445, and I think there's a SQL Server port running on there as well. But today's subject is SMB map. And I'm using this Nest machine, so there are spoilers in here, but they're hints. It's not going to give you the user, but I will give you hints on how to get the user if you really want it, and that's at the very end of the video. And then the escalation part is actually a totally different subject, so I may continue with that in a follow-up video or may not, and that way you can still figure it out. I think SQL Server though. Anyways, so let's go down in here, and I'll show that I've already connected over the VPN to hack the box. And so let's just go in here, and I'll type SMB map. So on some systems that are not Kali, maybe if you're using another flavor out there, it might be smbmap.py, but a lot of times it is recognized from in the user environment. We say -H for host, and then we put in the IP address that we had in the memorize that guy. So I'll just copy it. And then a lot of the older SMB maps, they have like a no banner thing where it doesn't show a banner that would pop up, and it just, you don't have to specify guest or anything. But on this newer version of Nmap, what I've noticed is in order to get anything enumerated, you actually have to put in the guest account. You don't need a password, because most of the times on Samba, that's the vector, is basically they don't apply a password to the guest account, or they don't disable the guest account. So that's your first step in enumerating this box after you've found out that 445 is running. So we can see here it's thinking a little bit, and eventually it'll pop up with some shares. So what I've noticed, and it might be a hack the box thing, it might be a current version of SMB map thing, or it might be an issue with the Nest box, the way that it's built. But after I run a couple SMB maps, sometimes it's non-responsive, and I have to go back and reset my VPN, and an SMB map will work. I suspect that might be an SMB maps thing. So we can see here that, we have access to, we have read-only access to a folder called data, and then we have read-only access to a folder called users. So one of the things we can do here is basically go in and see what we get out of the data folder. I mean, we could go poking around users, but there's first of all, that sets off more alarms. And another thing, if there are any alarms on there, the other thing is I already know from going through the box. So again, SMB map, and then this is how you see a. Okay, so this is how we see the guest, and then basically through the guest account without the password, and then basically what we want to do is we want to do capital R to recursively list the contents of everything that's in data. If you do a -R, it's not going to be recursive. It's just going to read the contents there. So you want to recursively type data apps, and we'll see what we have in the data folder here. It's taking a little while. Bear with us here. Okay, so this is all fine and dandy. We have read-only permissions to a lot in here, but since it recursively went, the capital R, since I recursively went through, or I specified that command, it starts out with data, and then it shows the folders that are buried down in there. So within data, there's a single folder called shared, and then within shared, there's maintenance and all that other. This is the probably the loot. Like whenever you see like an announcement email or something like that, especially like in the root of a directory like this, and it might look like more than one people have access to it to share, take a look at it, especially welcome emails, especially like in these laboratory boxes. So it is like basically go in and try and get a copy of this. And one way to do that with SMB map is, well, there's a couple ways, but the best way is actually to put in the the share name. There's another thing I wanted to point out here. Let me change my screen sharing here. So another thing I wanted to point out though is if you want to dig down, like if you're going to dig into a first level folder, so the data folder is at the top level. But if you want to dig down like data / shared, all the way down into a folder that's rather deep, use single quotes. That's one of the big frustrations. I had the same thing in a timed lab actually, where I wasn't using single quotes. I was using, but when it came down to using single quotes, I think another thing was often in Windows, there's double slashes. That instead of the forward slash, there's the backslash, and you do double slashes, or the forward slash to offset the, so that the system properly reads the backslash. There's all kinds of confusion here. With SMB map, it's a single quote whenever you put in a path, and the path is written like exactly like that. So in this scenario, this would be like data, share, maintenance, and down to where you want to go to get the file. So actually I didn't list it here. It's quite interesting, and that's kind of what I was tripping over while I was trying to explain something, is I didn't include the download flag here, and I'll do that because that'll be in the final. But what we want to do now that we want to look at this welcome email text, we basically want to download it. So let's go SMB map, and we're all there. But I want to say, do I want to say, yeah, I guess I have to. I have to, because it's recursively within the data folder. We may be able to skip that, but I'm just going to put it in just to make sure we get the file and can move on in the video. But what the frustrating part is, though, is like I said earlier, is these single quotes. So if they're, like if you do that, that's another way, is copy that, Control C, to copy in a Linux terminal, and then Control V, and that takes us all the way there. I would say welcome. So here, let me reiterate. So a lot of you may be seeing this and saying, oh, you have to use single quotes because there's a space in that welcome email.txt. No, it's not limited to that. If you go putting in slashes and diving down into folders, even if there are spaces or whether there are not spaces, you're going to need those single quotes. Let's see if this works. And, oh, see, it says 445 not open. Now, oh, sorry, I don't have you showing. Yeah, sorry about that. So I ran this. I put this in, and I say download, and it says 445 not working. So as I said earlier in the video, there's something quirky going on here. I think it might be a VPN/SMB map connectivity to Nest or HTB thing. So I'm going to Control C this. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. I literally had to reboot my Windows machine. Although I managed to keep the VMware instance suspended, so we actually got a connection. So that happens. Usually I don't have to restart Windows. It was probably like a Windows update thing or something hanging out there. Anyways, let's try it again. I think I still have the IP. Let's double check that to make sure that hasn't changed. And that's going to make me log in again. And they are. You can see that they keep the machine running because they understand that probably your session's going to time out before the machine stops. This is a good chance to show you where I'm going, though. I go into tracks, into labs, tracks, and then intro to Dante. And this is the other day I did a walkthrough with where I'm working with this open admin. I might come back to that. And here's Nest. And I still haven't fully, under this profile, still haven't fully compromised this box I did get the user right here. But so like I said, a few spoilers, just to refresh, a few spoilers. We do have the same IP address. So I'm gonna pop back over into the command line. And remember, so we had this welcome.email.txt file, and we want to take a look at that by downloading it. So SMB map -H for the host, -U for guest, because that's all the access I have now. I don't have a username and password. And then -R for data to show where I want to get this file, hyphen download. And I show it the full path name. And as emphasized earlier, single quotes, whether there's a space in the download file or space in the folder names or not, SMB map requires single quotes around an extended what do you like a file path, an extended file path. The same would apply to the -R here. You would have to put single quotes and then a slash and then to wherever you wanted to list. So here, let's do that and see, after all of that, this most likely will work. It'll take a second to think about it. So, maybe an error, invalid file path. So what do we have here? So I have, I know what. It's the leading slash there. See if that works. Hope I didn't mess it up and have to reestablish my VPN again. I think this will, oh, really? Authentication error. This is quite interesting then. So, there's a couple things here. So, the one thing that I could only imagine is that it's confusing. Do I have my IP correct? No. I don't see what else could be wrong here. So we'll try it again. It's data shared. Do I want to say, oh, okay. So see, this got me. This is a lesson learned. This really got me. It's just coming back right now. It is Windows, does require single quotes, but when you do a download, instead of just an enumeration or a listing of the folders, it requires double slashes. That's the only thing I could think of. So let's go for that. See what we get. Pray for functionality, which looks like we're going to get. And okay, voila. So this is going to show, it shows what it saved it, file output to, and that's quite a long file name. So I'm going to copy and paste that. Control C and then cat. Control V, just to show the contents of that, see if it's not a very long file. Oh no, so in Linux, you have to put single quotes around it if you've got spaces in file names. And there it is. So this is showing me a welcome email that just goes out to everybody, and it shows them how to get a temporary user on this SMB server or Samba server. So let's give that a try. Let's see, so as a regular guest, we got this. I'm going to pop up here in a second. And you can see here, so that's what we have. We don't have any access to secure. We don't have any access. We only have read-only access to this data folder, which gave us this welcome email with this temp user and welcome 2019. And then there's also this users folder that we haven't poked into. But why don't we poke into the users folder using this and see what we do have access to? So, go up SMB map -U, and then we're going to say temp user, and then -P and welcome 2019, and then let's say -R users. Let's see what we get. Excuse me, I have sinuses because of the allergies this time of year. And that gives you an idea. So there's a lot of options here. It looks like, if we look at it, we have read-only access. So a lot that's in here, but I would be willing to bet that you would have read-only into those folders, but you wouldn't have any access to what the contents are. That's just an idea thrown out there. So going from there, you've got really solid Samba access, authenticated access as a somewhat limited but a temporary user. So that's not quite foothold. You don't have a user on the system, but you've got access into the system to go digging around a lot more. There's a couple things out there though that we would maybe want to look at, and one that's intriguing. So we went poking in users here, but if we look at this, there's secure, and we have no access as guest. But let's see what we have as temp user. So instead of users, I'm going to put secure. Actually, our Samba's or SMB map on Tally's working quite well now, so that's good news. So we can see here that, oh, okay, so it dives into an IT folder and that kind of thing. So, we can continue poking around. I'm pretty much going to stop right about here. I think, I don't think we need to put double backslashes here, but let's try it without. See? And I was denied access. So that's the enumeration process, and you can go from there to see like what other permissions are allowed in the other folders, in the finance and the HR folder. But what it comes back to a lot of times is looking at what was initially there that you already didn't look at. So we're looking in a secure folder that has IT, and then when we enumerated as guest, we looked at the data folder, but we haven't looked at the data folder again as with our new elevated temporary access. So let's do that and see what's there. Taking a second. That can be a good thing. That means it's reading a whole list of data to feed back to us, or be a bad thing, get that 445. But if it's going this far, it usually means that it's going to work. So if we take a look at this, we have some .text files, and we have some config.xml files, and a lot of them, throughout. So one cool thing to do with SMB map is to use this command right here. And what this SMB map command will do is it's the full command, and then -a XML. What it'll basically do is it'll grep through the listing of whatever that pattern may be in the file name, and it will take those and it will download them automatically. So that's a really handy one for grabbing loot as quick as you can when you know that you have access to certain files within a certain folder. So let's do that. Basically, I want all the XML files that are in this data folder, and the way to do that is basically add a XML to the end of it, and what you get is a bunch of XML files, and it'll show them downloading as it works. Sorry, I was doing it without showing you. So yeah, this is where I put in the -a XML. I've just added it to the end of our command. And it's showing match found, downloading, editing.xml, projects.xml, settings.xml. That sounds, I don't know, that sounds pretty juicy to me, because quite often, passwords are hard-coded, or there are hints in there about what kind of systems, other systems may be running to lateral into. There's, when you go poking around in here, when you do it from scratch, you'll see like there's a scanner project, there's all kinds of things. And one of the scanner projects is RU. They call it, it's like scan RU or RU scanner. And I don't know what that is. Hot topic these days because it also stands for Russia, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But anyways, what we want to do basically is we want to look in this RU config file. And you can see here, I've already gone through it a couple times, but the IP that we have today is this one, and we'll see that we have a RU scanner config file. Let's copy that. And Shift-Control-C to copy. And then just give it a couple taps on the command line and cat. Shift-Control-V to paste. That's a really, I cat a lot. I don't open Nano. I don't open things in Notepad. If I think I'm going to have anything 100 lines or less, I'm going to cat it, or I'll tail it, or more it, or whatever, less it, whatever I feel like at the time. Actually, I'll more likely more or tail or less something like a log file where I just want to see parts of it. But anyways, here we are. So it shows, what do we have here? We have it's quite blatant. It shows that, the system's running on port 389 and the user is C. Smith, and then it shows a password. So taking a look at this looks like an encrypted password. So the first thing most people are going to do, which is what I did when I went for this box, is I took this password and I threw it into John and just went through it, and I wasn't getting what I wanted out of John, so I did what most people going down the rabbit hole do is I tried others. I tried like Hydra and some other things to try and crack the password. It doesn't work. So it's a very complex password. This takes us to the last part of my presentation. One of the things that when you find that you have access to a Samba share and you actually have like what we got, which was temp user, another good thing to do is to basically go in and mount it. Just go ahead and mount it. And the way that you would mount that onto Kali Linux is at the very bottom here. Just basically mount -T, that's file system size, mounted as a CIFS. -O, that's read only, and this gives all of the credentials, the -O flag does. So you put in the username, temp user, password equals welcome 2019, as we enumerated here, up here somewhere. Catted that file. It is what it is. In there somewhere. If you followed the steps, it should be listed in here. And then you put the target. And this time it starts out like a regular Windows path. 2 slashes in the front. You put in the target IP. You put in the share name, and then closed in single quotes. And then MNT data. This is a mount folder that I created in the MNT root directory. So what I basically do when I run this command is I basically take that SMB share and I make a network share folder out of it on my local disk, so I can use regular commands like ls and that kind of thing. to go through the files in a basically locally on my console instead of using SMB map commands over and over again to get to the information that I want. Another thing that I almost forgot, and probably be like the 5th tip today, is the one above that. So one quick way, so when we got all of these files downloaded, actually these are from some other sessions, but it does download quite a few files. One quick way to go through your loot and look for passwords like that is to get to know the grep command. So basically you just want to grep -i. Oh, I've already done it here. So if you just go through that, it's going to show everywhere password pops up in here. And it pops up 3 different times because I basically hacked this box. Not hacked it, but did different attempts on it in preparation for this fine video. Please subscribe, please like, comment, suggest, give me a hard time. The harder time you give me, don't heckle me too much though. I am giving it my best, but suggestions, direction. I want to know about this. You'd be surprised. I might go ahead and create a video about it. I answer a lot of questions. I mentor a lot of people related to cybersecurity. And I found that this medium is a way to kind of hit a broader spectrum of people asking sometimes the same questions. Thank you and have a good day. Take care.